as you may have all heard by now, Diablo 2 Resurrected has an increased attack speed bug at the moment. And this is beautiful because it allows me to make this build that I've always dreamed of actually viable. The necromancer. Neckbearmancer? I don't know. That one sounds weird. Like neckbeard. So this build is surprisingly fun and effective. This build has always existed, but it was never really that good. But now with this wonky attack speed bug, this build is surprisingly viable now. Just look at me crush these shitters. Yeah, and with that, let's hop on to the build here. So, we need to talk about the attack speed frames. But before we do that, it'll make more sense if we talk a little bit about the weapon choice here. And the weapon choice, of course, being the brand rune word in a demon crossbow. Now, just a side note, ranged weapons act as melee weapons in bear form. And we want the demon crossbow specifically because of the attack speed frames behind it. It's super fast, and it's really good for the bear form. And we want the brand rune word because of the 100% chance to cast level 18 Bone Spear on striking. Now, this is insane because we attack so fast, we're just launching all these Bone Spears. And because we're the necromancer, we can maximize the synergies behind Bone Spear, and that'll actually increase the Bone Spears that we unleash on striking. And this is just awesome. That's why I love this build so much, because not only does it look awesome, but it actually deals very respectable damage, like more than I thought. You deal a little bit over 1,000 damage per Bone Spear, and that might not sound like much, but you need to remember, it's magic damage, so there's only very few enemies that are immune to that. And also, we're attacking 5 times per second. So that damage really stacks. And it's a little bit of a AoE because it's a line when you hit the enemy, you know? And let's go over a little bit more about this weapon. We get 35% chance to cast level 14 amplified damage when struck. This is insane because we're a melee character. We're gonna get struck, you know? So the 35% chance is super big, and we almost permanently have amplified damage on our enemies. And when we're slapping them up, we do even more damage, which is awesome. And then we get some other nice things such as enhanced damage, ignore target defense, attack rating, damage to demons. This is all super good. Deadly Strike, prevent monster heal, and knockback. Now, knockback might be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the player, but for me, I love it because I love smacking things, especially in bear form. It just feels so good, and they get knocked back. And because we have a lot of movement speed with this build, which I'll get into later, we just follow them and keep slapping them until they're dead. And also knockback, I feel like it interrupts enemies because it looks like they can't really do much when we're knocking them back, which is incredible. Now, I also need to mention there is one downfall about this weapon, and that is that it doesn't have any increased attack speed on it. That actually really sucks because if you look at the increased attack speed bug, you can do like 12 attacks per second, 25 even, but that breaks the game. With ours, we're only doing 5 attacks per second, and that's more than enough. If this weapon had increased attack speed, this build would almost become meta. Like, it's viable, but like, because we don't have the increased attack speed, we only do 5 attacks per second, which is still incredible and very viable to make a build out of. So now we can talk about the attack speed frames behind this build. On the right side, we have the Lord of Destruction attack speed calculator, and on the left side, Diablo 2 Resurrected. And we have all of our stats plugged in here. Now, let me talk a little bit about what these numbers mean. On the vertical axis, we have weapon IAS, and on the horizontal axis, we have gear IAS. So it's important to note that our weapon IAS is 0, so every number below this first row here is pretty much useless to us. Now, let's compare these numbers. In Lord of Destruction, we're stuck at 8 frames. And, let me explain a little bit about what this 8 means. This 8 means that it takes 8 frames to complete an attack action. So, in other words, there's 25 frames per second in Diablo 2, so that means this is roughly 3 attacks per second. And in Diablo 2 Resurrected, however, we're able to reach 5 here with 80% increased attack speed. So that's what we're going to go for. And we're going to get 5 attacks per second, which is absolutely awesome and exactly what this build needed to become a thing, essentially. And with that being said, we can now go over the items behind this build. First of all, we have the G-Face for the Crushing Blow. Also, we get 15% increased attack speed here. That's very important to reach that 80% increased attack speed that we mentioned earlier. This also comes with wonderful things such as faster hit recovery and deadly strike. And we're using Treachery for the 45% increased attack speed. It also comes with Venom, Cold Res, hit recovery, and Fade. Now, Fade is really, really awesome because it gives you DR and Res. And I love it on bear builds because people like to proc their Fade first before they go into battle, but I don't think that's all the way necessary with a bear build because you have so much health that it'll trigger eventually, you know? But of course, if you're doing Ubers or a really hard battle, I get it. You might want to trigger Fade first. And for our final increased attack speed item, we're just running Crafted Gloves. Now, these are godlike, absolutely perfect. All of these items are like almost absolutely perfect, and they don't have to be. But I just really wanted to show off what this build can do. Now, these gloves can be replaced with any form of increased attack speed gloves, like Hands of Brock are probably a good replacement. But these are awesome because they also come with Crushing Blow. Crushing Blow is so good because of just the damage that it does. It's one of the reasons why melee builds are so good. So we don't want to lose out on that. So we try to maximize our chance of Crushing Blow through our gloves and our helmet. We also get some life stolen, so that's pretty nice. We also run Gore Riders to try to get more Crushing Blow. This is also our only form of open wounds, I believe. So these boots are pretty important. I wouldn't recommend Goblin Toes unless you really want a little bit more Crushing Blow, but I think these are better because they also give the Deadly Strike, which is great with the G-Face and the brand that comes with Deadly Strike on it. And for our amulets, we're running Angelic's combo. It just gives so much attack rating, and I kind of struggled with attack rating with this build. But this was a really helpful answer to that problem. We're also running Ravenfrost for the AR and Cannot Be Frozen, and String of Ears for the DR and Life Stolen. Now, when it comes to the inventory, we just have a bunch of Run Walk, Res, and FHR. I don't even need like a lot of these, but I love the Run Walk, and it also really helps with the attack rating. We're of course running Necro Annie. And let's go over the Merc Gear because it's actually really important to have a Faith Merc. Now, this gives you that fanaticism aura which helps with your increased attack speed. And that is, of course, vital for this build. So we can reach that 5 attacks per second. And the thing is, I find that this build kills things so quickly that you're able to keep your Merc alive. And also the AI behind the Bow Merc. This is the first time I've had a Faith Merc, to be honest. Her AI is kind of good for staying alive. I really like it. I also gave her Akira's Guardian. It has a jaw in it. It doesn't have to. Also Fortitude for the defense. Yeah, just really good gear all around. You just want gear to keep her alive. And next thing I wanted to talk about is the character stats. Now, this might look all over the place, and that's because it kind of is. We have enough strength to wield our gear, and something you might notice is we deal a pretty good amount of attack damage, of physical damage. And that's really helpful for staying alive because we have life stolen per hit on our gear. We also have a lot of dexterity, and that's to help with the attack rating issue I mentioned earlier. I love to have a lot of attack rating because I hate missing, and this is one of the solutions to that. And then the rest goes into vitality, and the main reason we did lower vitality is because we're a bear build. With our proper setup, I think we have around 2,400 health. That's more than enough, you know, so that's why we put so many points into dexterity, because I'd rather have more AR than a monstrous life pool, personally. But you can do this however you want. When it comes to res, well, we're relying on our fade proc. So I'm going to kind of shift into what our character looks like when everything is set up. So here we are with our fade and with our fanaticism aura. We get a lot more AR and res, but we're not done yet. We still have to turn into a bear. So let's do that. Drink a potion. So when it comes to turning to a bear, here's what I like to do first. We like to cast battle orders. I like to summon my golem. Oh, I like to buff him too sometimes. I just dropped these because I'm going to pick them up soon. And we cast Demon Limb. We cast Enchant on us because it really helps with the attack rating. And now we turn into a bear. And we pick these up and we're ready to go. And these are our final stats. That's a much better amount of attack rating and much better resistance, much better health too. And there we are. Also, really quick, I wanted to talk about these skills because it is important to max out Teeth, Bone Wall, Bone Prison, and Bone Spirit to maximize the synergies behind the brand Bone Spear for maximum damage. I also, of course, like to cast Bone Armor when I can, and put some points into the summoning tree because none of the other skills are really that helpful. You can't curse when in bear form, but you can have summons while in bear form. So this is what I like to do. I like to put all my remaining points into Skeleton Mastery after grabbing everything else. And that's our necromancer. It's a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be, and that's all thanks to the IAS bug. Really quick, do you guys think Blizzard should fix this bug? I vote no, because melee builds kind of need that edge because casters are a little bit more consistent overall. Also, I wouldn't recommend building this because this build can have some really expensive items, but it's ridiculously fun, so I might even try to build for it. Stay tuned, I will be uploading more. I love you guys. See ya.
Goodbye.